Now that I'm into my second build, it'd be easy for me to take to social media and rant about the problems considering my investment in NBA 2K21. However, I want to offer a different approach. I'm going to offer some meaningful feedback from an educator's perspective that hopefully developers can find useful to be able to make NBA 2K21 Next Gen the best game it can possibly be. It's Mr. Hurst, and this is SIMSPORTS Gaming Network. Welcome to SimSports Gaming Network, your place for simulation, gameplay, and breakdowns. Thanks for tuning in. And so we're approaching a milestone. We are at 40 subscribers, 10 more subscribers to hit that 50 mark, which is of course halfway to that 100 where the channel really starts to open up. But to celebrate when we hit 50, I'm going to be offering two $10 gift cards, one for Xbox and one for the PlayStation communities respectively. And so it's just a small way to say thanks for supporting a new channel. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, tap that like button, hit that notification bell so you'll be aware when new content arrives. And so today we're going to be talking about so far what we're thinking of NBA 2K21 considering the investment that has been made. And I wanted to offer that from a educator's perspective. I currently work as an educator. I have been a teacher for 11 plus years and now working as an administrator, specifically athletic director as well as behavior strategist. And so we use a lot of technique in our professional development and use of rubrics and stuff to be able to kind of provide meaningful feedback that we can use to be able to make corrections and be able to move forward. So I'm hoping to be able to do that with this game, and hopefully somebody from the development team is able to be able to take a peek at this, and there might be some useful information there that they might be able to carry over into saying, hey, let's check this out for our next gen and make sure we're on point with this. So here's to hoping. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the focus of my feedback is going to be coming from the my career portion of the game. I like the idea of being able to get in there and create my own player, put my own face in the game, because it just gives me that sense of realism and kind of living vicariously through my player, in the NBA and the rec. I used to play basketball, but man, my knees are at a point where I can't even be in a defensive position for more than a couple of minutes, a couple of times back and forth down the court, and then my knees are pretty much shot. And so this is a great way for me to be involved in the game, and plus I've been able to get into a community that I really enjoy and got some guys that I'm playing with, and it kind of does the same thing for me. And so I have invested quite a bit, and I want to just be able to give that meaningful feedback because I want this game to be the best it can be for my experience, but for the experience of others as well. And so I'm going to be using my trusty clipboard here. And as an educator, as I stated before, I like to operate and keep myself organized in my thoughts and such. And so bear with me while I make use of this. And one of the things we like to do is we like to talk about the things that we're doing well first. So for me, when we're talking about my career, it starts with the My Player Builder. And I really do like the My Player Builder system that they have kept pretty much the frame of how it works, and they just simply added a few new pie charts. And even though, those pie charts, people can argue back and forth on how useful they are, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. The thing about the new pie charts is you can only have one of those categories where you're going to be eligible for Hall of Fame badges. But the way they compensated for that is like instead of having one that is all finishing and all shooting or split evenly between finishing and shooting, and then the other part is, the other two categories, they give you a pie chart that has mostly finishing and some shooting, or mostly shooting and some finishing, and then there's a few others that have some combinations like that. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but when you go back and look at the builds that give you the most badges, it's still going to be the, like, I believe it's a center, and the pie chart is just going to be that finishing and that playmaking, and you're going to end up with like 68 badges. And so one might wonder, is it really worth it to pick one of those others? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't really give you too many new options, but I mean, at least it gives you the illusion that there's been some changes there. And so I am actually pretty pleased with the builder. I would like to see it expanded come next gen, and so we'll see what goes on with that. Let's see what else we got. I also appreciate the fact that when we look at last year in 2K20 and previous, the jump shot creator, they would hide it behind practices. And so you had to go through so many practices and then do these drills and do this one thing, and then finally you had access to the jump shot creator. But being able to have that off rip is really good. And I like being able to go in there and mess around with the different jump shots. I'm one of those that likes to use resources, because that's what we educators do. We use resources to try and be able to make informed decisions. And so I like to get in on 2K Labs and see what they're talking about when it comes to green windows and what's the best base and all that kind of stuff. So I get in there and I mess with it and then compare that to some others and see if I can find some differences. I like to get a jump shot that kind of looks like the way that I used to shoot. That way I can kind of get when it's supposed to be released. And so it's really nice to be able to do that right away instead of learning wrong from a jump shot that you wouldn't use. And so I do appreciate it, and thank you for making it available right off the get-go. Let's see what else we have. Yes, and there's been a lot of comments about the dribbling, and the dribbling is definitely much improved. I am grateful that I am now able to kind of chain moves together so that I can get to my spots on the court. I play primary ball handler for our team, and I like to pick and roll. And if the pick and roll is not there, it's usually just drive in, get into the paint, kick out to one of my shooters, or dish off to one of my bigs. If nothing else is available, then I'm getting to the elbow for my shots, or to the short corners for my shots off the dribble. And so being able to have some clean ball handling that makes it less likely to get bump stolen, or just somebody running up on you and just hitting that X button. When you've got cleaner dribbling and you can chain those moves together, makes it a lot better. So I expect it to be even better come next gen. Let's see what else we have. Probably the biggest thing that we got to see right off the bat before the game released was the new neighborhood. Like, there was some worry there before the game came out that the neighborhood was going to be exactly the same old, same old. But man, I'm telling you what, that Venice Beach thing going on, I'm digging that. I'm digging, like, because of the big open space. You know, it looks like it actually looks like we're out on an island somewhere off the coast or whatnot. They got the water out there, and you look around, you can see the beach, you know, and because of the setting, it makes the space look bigger than it actually is. And so I like that I can roam, you know, to get to a spot. You know, it actually has more of a city feel because you've got a few blocks, and it's not just like one square thing, but you know, you can go down this road, take a left here, take a right there, you know, things that, you know, seem kind of insignificant, but the way that they have designed it, it makes it look bigger than it already is, as I've said, and that is kind of pleasant for me to see. And so I know that a lot of people are digging that. The only thing that I would suggest is let's expand upon it come next gen. I have seen all kinds of videos out there. I believe Agent had a video out there where people basically submitted some ideas on what some different neighborhoods could look like. So you guys have got plenty that you can build upon to make it so that we're not just dealing with one aesthetic location. Give us multiple. And while you're at it, why not throw those affiliations back in that are associated with those locations? Like I saw this one that was dope from China, and that would be awesome. People had some in different locations of the United States. If you just wanted to, stay home with it, we could have a Midwest one with a server. That would be nice. We could have a Dirty South one with a server. That would be nice. East Coast, Northeast, Northwest. We've already got the West Coast, but the Southwest even. Have one in Albuquerque or something. I don't know. But man, it would be nice to have some different spots to go to and travel and find different places, and play with different players that are actually from those regions. That would be awesome. But in any case, for this current gen, I'm liking what I see. I said a lot to say that. And so now I think maybe it's about time we get into some of the things that are less than to be desired. If you think in terms of proficiency or non-proficiency like we do as educators, I've just finished talking about the things that I think are currently proficient. Now we're going to be getting on some things that are less than proficient, some at the developing level and some that are downright at the beginning level. And so let's get into those. So some of the things that, I would consider at the developing level, which is, kind of on their way there to being proficient, but not quite there. And some people could argue these being less than proficient, like at the beginning level, that's up to interpretation. This is once again one guy's opinion, one educator's opinion on what things are proficient, what things are developing, what things are at beginning level. And so, take it with a grain of salt. But in any case, here we go. And so I'm going to talk about the Pro Stick. Now, when the game started, I thought the Pro Stick was at a beginning level kind of thing. I was like, yeah, you guys submitted a new idea, but man, we can't hit a shot for nothing with this thing. But after taking some time with my first build and realizing that, again, using that 2K Labs resource, you had to have a jump shot that was at least, an 86, and that may have even dropped a little bit now, but I was like, I got to be able to shoot. I was sitting there with a 74 mid, which was more than enough for before shooting off the dribble, but it just wasn't happening using the stick, using the X button. Like, it just wasn't happening. So, like, I had this at the beginning level. Like, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. But then I got my badges, got another build that had the shooting at, currently it's at 94 for mid-range and 91 for three-point shooting. And using the stick, thanks to Brutalism, giving that nice reminder that when you're using the stick, you got to pull your thumb down, hold it there, and then just move it back and forth between 5 and 7 o'clock. Now, that was a really helpful hint, which helped me with, first with this one that has the high shooting ability. But I still say it's at the developing because they need to make it so that as soon as I pull down on the stick, that thing comes immediately. Now, one could argue maybe it's a lag or maybe it's something else, but that thing, at first, before the patches, it wasn't showing up on my screen, and I've got really good internet and hardly any lag. It wasn't showing up till about the time I was about to release the shot. Now, like, it shows up a little bit sooner, but that thing should show up as soon as you pull down to shoot. And so that's something that needs to be improved upon after getting some badges. But once again, I think it's doing a little bit better for me. I've gotten used to it a little bit. Those helpful hints kind of helped out. But as far as its functionality, things that would be on the developer end, I think they still need to get some work in on that. And I'm sure they're going to keep messing around with it until they get it right. But at this point, for me, I have it at developing. getting closer to proficient. When I go to join my friends, because we're ready to get together and get into the rec, and we're joining each other's neighborhoods, and we get that sign that comes up, or excuse me, that message that comes up that says neighborhood is full. Like 2K, I think we can do a little bit better with that. Like, you guys are making tons of money. Like, let's ask some questions on how we could better organize whatever stuff on your end with servers or whatnot. I'm not gonna pretend to know any of that stuff. It's outside of the scope of my ability to understand that kind of stuff. But you guys have got the money, the resources, the technology to make it so that we're not jumping into each other's thing and it's full. It shouldn't be the case. And if it is, then perhaps we need to look at expanding once again our reach of servers. Again, the regional thing I think is a great idea. I'll put another plug in for that. But right now I think that's at the development stage. Let's see, getting into the rec. So now that we've gotten into the same park, now that we're all squatted up, we are still dealing with that silly glitch of it's not recognizing that we're all there together, ready to go in. And so we do the awesome little run around in a circle dance until it finally registers that we're all there, we're all together, so that we can go in. That's something by now, I think, I could arguably put it at the beginning stage because we've been dealing with this for a few 2Ks now. But I'm going to say it's at the developing because it's not taking as long for it to recognize it. But it's still taking longer than it should. We're having to run around for at least 10 seconds until it goes. But in the last 2K, sometimes it would be a minute or so, people running around in a circle trying to get this thing to register. So we've made some progress there at least. What else we got? Getting into Jeff's Arcade and the prize wheel. You know what? Last year, I thought the prize wheel was at proficient. You get in there, you could see what you're going to earn. It had the numbers with it, like I was going to earn either 2,000 VC or 500 VC or, however many boosts, you could actually see it. You could see what your possibilities were. But you've taken a step backwards and that's no longer proficient. It's at the developing stage because you have taken all of those things off and we can't see what we're going to get. I don't think there was anything wrong with us being able to see that. So let's get that back to where it was. If you're not doing that already, that needs to be something that happens. I don't like going in there, getting onto the prize wheel after I've waited forever, spend that thing, only come to find out that I'm only getting 3 boost. 3 boost. Last year in 2K, I have to admit it, I was always over 99 for the most part because I did figure out that if that boost was at 8 o'clock or somewhere around 8 o'clock, because that's really all you wanted was either the Gatorade or the attribute boost. And you can kind of estimate where that power meter needed to be. And if you did that, that thing would stop right at the top every time and you would get those 40. And so, we went from that extreme for me to 3 boosts and I can't even see what's coming up. Let's do something about that. What else do we have? All right, getting into some gameplay stuff. Can we do something about the fact that the AI, well, even before I go there, community, please stop quitting out of games. You're gonna take L's. Just take your L. Stop quitting out of games. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But if you're stuck left with an AI, that AI, regardless of its ability to shoot, you pass it the ball when it's open and it's going to shoot, regardless if it's a glass cleaning finisher with 30 rating for shooting. Shots going up. It doesn't want to pass the ball back. Some might argue that's in the developing stage, or excuse me, in the beginning stage, but I put it at developing. So we're just going to move on. So not only are the AIs shooting, even when I hold that button down like you're supposed to be able to do to pass to the AI, you hold the button down and the AI is supposed to pass the ball back when you release it. Yeah, for whatever reason, when you're in the rec, it doesn't work that way. Maybe it's because other players are calling for the ball and such as well. But yeah, that's something that it's basically AI takeover if it gets the ball. Like taking over the game, it's going to do what it wants to do. So that's something we need to definitely look at how we can fix that so the AI is a little bit more intuitive. What else do we have? We still have a bit of an issue with driving into the lane and even going as far as to letting go of everything on your controller and then hitting the shoot button. But instead, it doesn't stop and it continues to go into a layup animation. Maybe I'm hitting the shoot button too quickly or whatever the case may be, or pulling down the stick too quickly, because I use a combination of both, and it will drive in for a layup where I don't want to be because people sit in the paint. So again, that's something that I think has gotten better. It doesn't quite happen as often, but it still happens more than I would want it to, and usually at the worst times. So let's look at doing something to get that adjusted even now, but definitely for next gen. Let's see what else we have. So we seem to have some glitches going on. One glitch is just, of course, players warping. Another glitch is the full court passes. And these things I feel are at the beginning level. People getting sucked into screens. Not only sucked into screens from the side of the screen, like I could be on the guy that I'm guarding. He moves away from the screen. I move with him, but some magical Star Wars force will pull me back in. And not only that, it will stick me on the other side of the screen. Like I completely lose control of my player. That's developing stage type stuff. That should not be happening with all the technology we have available. So let's do what we need to do to ask the right questions on how we can get those things fixed. Again, with regards to the passing, why are we still able to get a rebound directly underneath the rim and throw a hook shot type long court pass all the way to almost underneath the other rim over the outstretched hands of players for the other team to drop in perfectly, whether it be directly overhead, to the right, or to the left? It's almost unstoppable. And so we know that's not realistic. This is supposed to be a simulation game. So those are things we need to ask the right questions on why those things might be happening and how we can get them fixed. Now, I'm not going to pretend to have the right questions to ask because, again, the technology isn't my thing, but from an educator's perspective, we know we need to ask those right questions. That's what we need you to do, 2K. I'm sure you're doing that to a certain degree, but now we're giving you feedback because that's the missing piece. And I think the questions you guys ask for feedback sometimes isn't really going to get the job done. Now, that being said, I have noticed that Mike Wang has been posting some things about how do you guys feel about the dribbling, the park dribbles, I think specifically. How do you guys feel about it? Those are the types of questions I think we need to be asking. And I'm not going to claim that I'm on social media all the time looking at these things, but based on the things that I have seen, more of those types of questions need to be asked. Let's see, the catch animations, all tipped passes and ball pokes for steals. it seems more often than not they go right back to the other team, especially during crunch time situations. Um, Directional passing, sometimes I will, and I have mine set to 95 directional passing. I will be pushing to a direction, let's say I'm pushing up and to the right, and I'm trying to hit the 3-point shooter in the corner, and they're the only person over there, and randomly it will pass it to the complete opposite side of the court. Same thing happens with icon passing from time to time. You'll hit icon B to pass to obviously the B player, but yet it'll throw it to the Y player. And I'm just like, wait a second, I definitely hit that button. And so again, there are some questions that need to be asked on why those things might be happening. And then let's come up with some solutions as to how we might fix those things, test it out, and then keep testing. Okay, and these things might seem like no-brainer things that you're already doing, but to hear the feedback from people, I'm hoping will help motivate those things to be done at the very least for next gen, if not in this current gen that we still have some time on. And we know that there are some people that are going to be on next gen on current gen even after next gen comes out, because they simply don't have the resources to jump into that. And so it's critical that we who have invested in these things, that we be taken care of as consumers. And I want to believe that you care about that, despite what some of the comments on social media might say, some of them pretty harsh. But the one thing you need to consider is that there have been some harsh comments that have been coming for a while. And so people, I think, are holding out for this next gen iteration to be wowed, to be blown away. And if that happens, all would be forgiven. I really believe that. And so hopefully I've been able to provide some meaningful feedback that developers can use in order to be able to make sure that our next gen version of this game, and even our current gen version, can develop into the best games that they could possibly be. And so once again, if you're new to the channel, or you're just revisiting and you haven't hit that subscribe button, please subscribe. Please hit that like button. Please tap that notification bell so you'll know when new content drops. And as always, love God, love people, peace.